Hello, and welcome back to the fifth podcast of Drama and Theater in Education Studies. For those of you who don't know, my name is Matthew Demaro. I am a student at Brock University who is taking a class about drama and education from a lovely professor named Kevin Hobbs. And these are reflectionatory videos meant to reflect the ideas that we talk about in class. And how that affects drama and theater, and how drama and theater affect education. Today, we're going to talk about the idea of faith in art. Today in class, we did a beautiful exercise where we all wrote poetry, 2 lines of poetry, covered the line, and then handed it over, and the person had to, complete the poem or what have you. Now, this activity is fully about faith in your cohort. Faith that the story will be able to be finished. Now, none of us knew what each other were writing. All we saw was the line before we passed it. So we had to react, if you will, and create what we believed to be the next line of that story. And I think that goes into the idea that imagination is always twisting and changing. Our ideas that we have may change on the effects of art and meaning, and how when we come up with an idea, the way that we see it is influenced by the meaning that we put behind it, or the life that we've lived that we give it meaning to. But if you hand that over to the person next to you, they will have a completely different interpretation, a completely different idea and summary and revelation over what that is. And that is the idea of having faith that they will be able to take your work, turn it into their own thing from their own visions, and it still turn out a cooperative piece together. Now, it can be very hard to have that kind of faith in your classmates, improv workers, your fellow actors, anyone. It's hard to say, this is kind of what I wanted, and I give it over to you, and let's see if you do it. But the thing is you have to come to acceptance that they're not going to do what you wanted. They're not going to tell the story you wanted to be told. They're going to tell the story that they see from what you gave them. Expectation and imagination were a big topic today, because what I wrote at the very beginning of my poem, I wrote to be about winter and the change of the world. But what it became was about self and the vision of oneself and how that changes. And that came from my beginning of winter. My story, what I wanted was to be a story about winter and the change of the world. But what it became was something so entirely different. Was it better? Was it worse? It doesn't matter. It was poetry, pure cooperative poetry. I think about the ideas that art is only as powerful as the meaning we give to it, and I think I understand that a little bit better now after today. Something is only as important as the meaning we see it in. And I think that getting to study education, I can now see how activities like this and how drama and theater as well, as I've always known, that idea of change and that twist and that cooperation and that faith are so present in so many drama activities and are so necessary for so many students who are struggling with having that sort of emotional connection with their classmates and their peers. And I think that having faith that the story will finish itself is what I mainly took from today's lesson. And having faith that the work that we do in class will come together. Maybe not right now, maybe not this semester, but eventually the lessons will click and the story will tell itself. And taking from the texts of our lives, from the mistakes we've made, from the good choices we've made, from the people we've helped, our story is based off of our perspective. And that is why there are so many stories to tell, because there are 8 billion different perspectives. And I think that adding in this idea of adaptation, imagination, and perception is something that students need to understand, that other people may not understand the work that they do as a whole, but as long as they believe in it and they continue to strive to complete it, then the story will hopefully tell itself and finish itself. It will change and adapt, and we will change and adapt as our perception and perspective will. But that story will still get finished, may just be different from what it was before, based off of the new things in our life, the new people in our life. So if there's one message that I can summarize today in, I suppose it's, you cannot beat a river into submission. Only when you succumb to its currents can you let it take you. And I think that that's a great summary of putting the faith in our fellow classmates, that while they may not tell our story, they will find the right end to the story. And then we will have done it together, creating this beautiful piece that you would never think a group of people randomly wrote. It's a lesson in cooperation, in perception, and in faith. Anyways, that will be all today. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed my reflective piece on perception and faith. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content as well. And I want to leave you off with this thought. Where in our lives have we tried to beat something into submission? And would it have been better to have simply let it happen and see what happens, to open that door and see where it goes, instead of trying to beat the door into giving you the outcome you want? I know that we all have examples of that. So just reflect on the idea of, where can I sit and listen and wait, rather than try and force an outcome? Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed, and have a good night.